So I'm back on my phone because I am going to try to show some much more healed and better wounds. They're not gory anymore. They should be pretty okay to look at. Um, Hopefully. um, Today is the... What is today? The 7th. Today's the 7th. Okay. So today's the 7th, and I'm in my room, and I am gonna attempt to do this with as little shaky video-ness as possible, but unfortunately, again, I'm on my phone, so it's gonna wiggle a lot. So first, we're gonna come down to my shorts, and I no longer have to wear the apparatus anymore, nothing like that. Actually, before I do my shorts, I want to show. So on my belly, that is it. That one line, that's the entirety of scarring from doing this as far as like groinal scars go. That will be visible. I do have a little bit underneath, and underneath there's complications and stuff. Obviously, I'm not going to show the phallus, but I I would say I made out like a bandit because, again, I could have had a giant scar going down my thigh. I've seen people before who had big slices that went across like this, like horizontally. And I just have that one vertical scar, and it's already getting pink. So even with my surgery to fix the complications, it'll be a penile split, it'll be underneath the phallus. Even with my normalization surgery, where they do the urethral attaching and they form the balls and stuff, and make the phallus look more natural, all of that will be underneath and actually almost entirely hidden by the balls themselves. So, hey, so I just have this one single scar, and that's it. And I feel very fortunate because I've seen some pretty unpleasant scarring that other people have had on stuff. Now, something that's going to look intense, maybe, but there will be no scars, zero scars at all. Oh, by the way, yes, I did cut my hair. I got to the point where this is not the best haircut I ever gave myself, but I could not take it anymore. Like the scruffiness and the hairiness, I just couldn't. So I cut my hair on the 3rd of July. Anyway, so I am showing these because I got the okay back from the hospital that I will officially not be needing any more appointments until September, that I officially don't need to keep doing wound care, that I officially don't have to keep wearing again the wrap apparatus around my body and my thigh, and I don't have to wrap in gauze anymore. So my thigh down here, I pulled my shorts. So this red right here is where they took a laser saw and just sliced off the top of the nerves and the capillaries. It looks like really bad sunburn. That's essentially what it is. So this is all not going to have any scarring at all. It's all just fine. It is definitely something that was unpleasant, especially when I first got back from the hospital. It burned so much. Now there's a little twinge here and there. I don't even have gauze on it, and for the most part, it's pretty decent. I'm not really on any Tylenol and ibuprofen anymore or anything like that, off painkillers, and it doesn't have any more open spots. It was like fully open before. This pink like this, sometimes I put Aquaphor lotion on it, but otherwise, they said now that it's closed that it doesn't really need anything. Same thing with the arm. I'm allowed to put lotion or Aquaphor or silicone tape on it as wanted and desired, but it doesn't actually need anything. The bacitracin and stuff, that's all done with, that's all over, and yeah. So for the arm, it is a little more weird to look at. So on the bottom of the arm, it just looks like mostly an arm, right? Like it's, then you start getting to the scar. So the scar comes around, and all of this part right here, you can see the edges of it, but Otherwise, it is like this inner part, it's a darker color right now because it's still healing, but that's all skin. Like that's just straight up skin, and it will end up, once it heals, just being the edge scars, and even those are already pretty pink. They're already uh, doing pretty well. I do have a couple of places where it's darker, but that should heal in as well. And then I have a couple of spots where there's a little tiny bit of raisedness, and then I have this one scar that comes off of it right here that's already almost faded in. That scar is from April 23rd, and that's how faded in it is already. I just scar really well for some reason. Don't know what to tell you. It's going away. So you can see a little bit of the darker spots though on it. Those darker spots will also heal in, but they might be slightly discolored permanently or might not. There's no way to know until it heals. But for the most part, it's pretty good. The one biggest thing is I still have this bump right here. And unfortunately, they said that might just be permanent. This weird bump that was at the very top of stuff. So I don't know if you can see how much further it goes out, but like this isn't open where it's dark. Like that, none of that is open. It's sealed. It's just darker. But that bump, it's where some sort of swelling, water retention, something came along, and it's just not wanted to go away. So my arm is completely sealed except for one little spot, and they did have to put where the darker spots are, that's where the silver oxide had to go at the appointment where they had to do that. So on the bottom of it, you can see this one little bump right here where it's still a little open. And that one little bump has been very persistent. But other than that, everything else is sealed. Everything else is healing over really well. And like I said, even the edge scarring of things is already pretty pink, except for a couple of little spots of discoloration. Now down here, it's slightly darker in a couple of spots down at the bottom, but it's still um, overall not much discoloration. And then that one little spot, I don't even have to put bacitracin, that whatever it's called, anymore on there. It's just one little bump that keeps being persistent, but it literally just gets covered with a little bit of dry gauze and left alone. I am still supposed to keep my arm covered though. So before I was wearing these kinds of sleeve thingies on the part of my arm, and I stopped putting them over my hand, and it just goes over the arm part now. Um, as soon as this last little bump heals up, I go from these to my black sleeves, which are more for like exercise, and they just go up the arm and create compression. And I need to do that for another 10 months. But I'll just have a black like arm sleeve on my left arm, and then that's that. So it's not something that's going to be inhibiting my mobility or things like that. I've already lost 5.5 pounds, and my goal has been was to lose 2 to 4 a week, and by the end of summer I should be greatly reduced in weight and everything. And so far that's been working out really reasonably. That seems to be a nice, good goal. I cannot believe how tired I get though. I used to be this person who just goes for the most part. And I still am, but I get tired. And people keep telling me, I mean, it's essentially right now a month since I got off of bed rest, right? And they're like, some of them are like, oh yeah, it took me like 6 months after a surgery, a major surgery like that and stuff. And I'm thinking, it better not take no 6 months for me to stop getting tired or, suddenly realize, oh, I'm pushing myself too hard exercising here. I need to pace myself better. I was a little sore today because I carried something really heavy yesterday, and I probably shouldn't have, but I did. So I was a little tired and worn out today, but yeah, lots of good news. The hospital officially has declared me good to go until my appointment in September, when I will again see my urologist. And that's what everything looks like, except for obviously I'm not showing the phallus. No. But honestly, if it looks unpleasant, it's actually less bad than it probably seems on camera. I tried to make it look more like how I see it, and it just, I assure you, it's completely sealed, and it's skin. Like it acts like skin. It washes like skin. I can take a rag and rub it on it. Like there's nothing raw or anything on the thigh or on the arm. It's all completely sealed, and that's just where stuff was. So if anyone ever wanted to get phalloplasty and they wanted to know where donor sites are and where like wound care will be and some sort of gauging of about how much they take or how much they use, now you have an idea of it. Um, Hopefully that helps. But yeah, I feel very fortunate because I've seen some people's scarring that's so much worse, and it has like all these stripes of stitching or in reality staple marks, like just like zigzagged all over stuff and everything. And mine are really clean lines for the most part, and my stitches are all disintegrated now, and the lines are like healing in really well. I don't have a ton of like raised surfaces along the edges of where the stitches had been, stuff like that. I feel pretty excited about that. I think once everything heals over, the most noticeable thing will actually be that weird bump that's possibly permanently on my arm. That slight lift right before where they took the donor site from my arm. So I find that interesting. My thigh, it will end up looking exactly the same. I don't know if you could see it, but even hair is growing in on the red. Um, so like everything is returning to normal on my thigh. And again, I just have that one single like vertical scar down in the groinal area, and that's the only scar. That's it. There's nothing else. Technically, there's the round around the base of the phallus. There's the stitching to attach and everything, but quite frankly, that's already healed over, and I'm walking around without anything. Like there's no way my phallus is coming off or anything like that. I've read before about guys who were like scared that it would come off. I haven't been afraid of it coming off. Um, and I do want to say there's a couple of weird things I've noticed with it. Number one, I never thought about it before, but when you like say lay down and you have a shirt on and you get those wrinkles on your back, that happens with your underwear and your shorts. On your phallus, you'll get those wrinkles sometimes on it because the skin is so soft and it's pressed really tight against this inline seam of your shorts, and so it gets a wrinkle on it. I was like, oh, also, it's a little unnerving, but you kind of start to slowly get used to it. When you go out or do something or whatever it is, the phallus, say it gets kind of bent a little in your shorts or something, and it gets stuck that way for a while. At first, it stays kind of in that shape, and then after a while, little bit, it re-straightens itself back out or whatever. It doesn't stay permanently like that. But the first couple of times that happened, I was like, oh gosh, did I just like accidentally like bend my phallus or something? Um, because I had to have the skin grafting on the bottom. The bottom skin is a little more tense than the super soft smoothness of the rest of my skin on my phallus. And so when it does that bending like that, it feels a little more solid in that part, and it's kind of like, oh no, did I actually accidentally create a like a wedge, or something here? And no, there's nothing like that. It goes completely back to how it's supposed to be. So hey, it is for the most part pretty stiff though. It's definitely like having a semi, and it's just like always a semi, which is normal. And yeah, it's been really great, except for washing stuff, because in the shower, you gotta kind of like lift it up and move it around and stuff to get the water underneath, because again, I don't have urethral attaching yet. So I make sure I clean down there real well. Obviously, once I have balls, I'll make sure I clean down there real well still. But I have noticed that that's the one thing, is you gotta kind of like move it over at angles so that you can get the water underneath, so you can actually wash soap off and stuff. But yeah, that's about it. I've finally started being able to walk like a normal person and not like a dwarf anymore, without the, like a mythical dwarf, like a fairy tale dwarf, without the apparatus on me. And I've started losing just a slight bit of weight. That is actually like solid weight loss, and not, in a week you can have a couple of pound fluctuation kind of a thing. Um, and I don't have to do wound care anymore. I'm officially done with wound care for the most part. Now I'm still doing physical therapy, and I will say my bending of things is getting a lot better. And my fingers, they always were pretty good, but my wrist has always been pretty annoying. And yeah, today it's been a little sore. Again, I should not have lifted something quite so heavy yesterday. But anyway, the point is, I've started being able to do a lot of stuff. I'm fully started into classes at both schools. I am hanging out with friends a lot. We went to like low tide. I hung out with people for fireworks and barbecue and stuff for the 4th of July. Not because we necessarily celebrate, but because we just want excuses to hang out. Been just doing lots of stuff with friends. My computer, someone helped me with my computer who was a friend, and I stopped having to pay exorbitant amounts of money to someone to help with my computer, and that's been a relief. I cannot tell you how stressful that was for me. And it got done just in time for my second school's accounting class to start, because it's intermediate international accounting part 2. So I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do if I can't use Excel? Because my laptop just can't handle giant spreadsheets. It just can't. So I was so relieved. But yeah, for the most part, that's about it. I have been confronting some stuff in my 2 university classes, because they're both on disability, but from different angles. One's disability in the arts, and the other one is disability and diversity in education. And let me tell you, a lot of stuff is coming up as someone who has disabilities, and I don't know, the classes should almost carry a trigger warning for people who've grown up with health issues, because like some of the stuff that they're describing happening to kids in school, or you know that you know stuff their parents did and things like that, it's very relatable, very very relatable. And I have the intersection of identity with disability, and it is scary. It's very unpleasant dealing with people's already like thinking, things like I'm an adult child and stuff like that. And then on top of that, being disgusted. There's an added layer of being ostracized there. And I've been having to confront a lot of that in classes and stuff. So, yeah. But deep contemplation makes us better. At least in my opinion. Deep contemplation makes me better anyway. So, anywho, that's it for this video.